I'm a church girl, but hi, my name is Mary Thoya. Welcome to this podcast. There's so much to talk about, and I'm sure I'm new to you. In the same way, you're also new to me. But be sure whether you're a young person, whether you are female or male, or a teenager, a youth, someone older, trust you me, you're in the right podcast. There's so much we'll talk about here. This podcast is on all social platforms, but also we are on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. So feel free to interact with us in all those platforms. You can comment your thoughts, comment any topic you want us to talk about. You can say all that because I'm sure there's so much to learn from you. And there's also so much for you to also hear from me. And at the end of the day, as iron sharpens iron, we'll learn from each other, right? Yeah, so I'm sure you're wondering who is this girl? Uh, well, I don't know if that is so much important, but it is important that at least you know me so that you also don't feel like you're a stranger to me. Uh, like I said, I'm Mary, and Mary is a young 24-year-old Kenyan girl who basically has grown up as a Christian for the longest time. Mary has grown up in a Christian home. Mary has grown up around Christians. Mary has basically been a Christian. Yes, but I officially got saved on when I was 13 years old. When I joined high school. Mm, well, I knew about God. I always went to church all this time, but like when I was 13, I joined Form 1. That's when like I now got to consciously uh, to consciously say that now I'm a Christian and I believe in God. By that time I already like had learned so much about who God is and what God does, and I was conscious enough to make a decision. So that's when I made the decision to follow Christ. And it's not been an easy journey. Well, I know that might sound like it's a difficult statement to say, but yes, it's not been a perfect, easy journey. Well, maybe by that time I expected that it would be an easy peasy route, but alas, it's not, you guys. It's not a perfect journey. I don't know about your journey. You can comment. How has your journey been? Are you the kind of person who was born in church, or you heard about God when you grew up, or you heard about God on the street? How has been your journey for you? I'd love to know. Let's interact. And how is it now? So that that has been my life. That has been my life, and as the title of the episode suggests, I am a church girl, but then I've always not wanted to be churchy. I've always not been attracted to the idea of being churchy. Churchy in this context means looking like you are a Christian. Well, depending on the environment you are in, churchy could mean wearing these very long clothes. Churchy could mean walking with your hands placed at the back to show humility. Churchy would mean praying very loudly and praying very long prayers, probably when you're in a meeting or in a family setup and praying for, I don't know, anything, and now your prayer is very long than others. You're praying for food, but maybe now instead of saying God bless this food, you say a whole 1,000 words. Churchy could mean condemning and judging people. And I know that is something that is familiar to almost everyone because, I don't know, that's the brand that has been there for Christianity out there for the longest time. Churchy to mean, obviously, you don't go out to drink alcohol. you don't party, you're not wild. I don't know how to put it, but like I'm sure you understand. Whether you are Christian or not, by now you know what it means to be churchy. To publicly show that you are a Christian. That's what I mean to be churchy. And so for me, that is how the word translates to me, and I was never attracted to that to that explanation of churchy. I was never attracted to that idea of being churchy for the longest time, and it has really affected my walk with God. Well, like I said, I was born in a Christian family, and so as a young kid, I definitely was interacting with Sunday school kids where you learn about God there. You meet people who believe in what you believe. So even the things you talk about are almost the same. At home, definitely talk about God. All those basic things that people do. Pray before you eat. Pray before you sleep. All those things uh, are what I was doing. And in primary school, well, the same thing. In now high school, which can also be termed as junior secondary, uh, the same thing, meeting people who probably also believe in what I believe. But now I noticed something different about high school, because now here I'm meeting people. Well, I had been warned, attending these church activities and teenage camps. You definitely are told that when you go to high school, you meet people who are different, and so you should stick to what you've been taught. And all those things I already knew, but now this time, it's one thing to know about something, it's another thing to experience that thing. And so in this case, definitely was in Christian Union, like any other church person would do, any other church girl would do. So I was in Christian Union, but then I was there like lukewarm. I believe in God, but also I'm also very cautious. Now I'm meeting people who they know about God, yes. Others, they're from different religions. Others don't even like acknowledge God. Others are even like sounding like they hate God. And so now, this is new. This is new. Well, if you go to Christian Union and meet people who understand what you're saying, you think almost the same way. But like now in class, you're meeting different people who probably they're not that much into God, and it's like you can't tell them they're wrong. You can't tell them whether they're actually right, because you also there's what there's what you've been taught. And so that was my experience. At some point I became a church leader, but then so many things were happening at the same time, because like I said, I'm here trying to now figure out, okay, I mean, okay, like I need to love God, but then I'm also like, well, I shouldn't also despise people. I should love people. And I'm also trying to be careful, like I shouldn't miss out. So I was right about there. So at some point, I was made a Christian Union leader, and my first reaction was to say no. I actually struggled with it, because I remember I followed the CU patron and told her that, you know what, I don't think I can do this. And she referred me to another um, CU patron who now they're like, these things that we will be told. God has called you. It's not us who have done the selection. It's God who has called you, and so you shouldn't say no to the call of God. Well, I wasn't that much satisfied about that, but he prayed for me and said, like, God will help me. It's not my own enablance. It's God who will take me through this, so I shouldn't worry. And so I left the office a bit convinced, but also careful, like not 100% buying the idea that I should now lead people in church, because my life then it wasn't like as pure. In fact, I didn't expect that I would be called into such a position. Well, there's so much I'll talk about that later, about leadership and all those things. But that's basically how my life was in high school. Things were a bit warmer there because at the same time, I remember after leading in church, I was also picked as the entertainment prefect, or rather executive. There's a word we're using in the same school, and so it was crazy. It was crazy because you see now with entertainment, there's a lot of people pleasing that has to come with it, and you're entertaining people who are Christians and others who are not Christians. Well, the school had the religious background where it was ACK founded, so again there were controls, but still it wasn't easy. I'll still speak about these things in other episodes into finer details, but now let's talk about college or campus, however you'd put it. Oh my, when I joined campus or university, everyone has their own way they call it, but you understand. That's when I saw life with two eyes. I felt like all this time I was probably scared or probably looking at things at a very conscripted, or I don't know the right word, but like at a very smaller scale. Here now, I'm meeting people who are wild. Like in campus, I joined campus and I met people who are not scared to tell it in your face that they don't care about God. People who are not scared to even like, I don't know, they'll see right in your face and won't feel bad about it. Here I'm there like now. Well, of course I've been warned. We've been warned. Even in high school, we've been warned at home. We've been warned in church about like when you go to campus, you meet different people. Oh, people are there have some, all those things you're taught and warned. But really, does it ever help? It does help to some point. Uh, but there's the aspect of also choice. So now here in campus, I meet people who are not scared to drink. Well, already I'm from a Christian background, so drinking is a no-go zone. People who are in relationships. People are talking, I don't know, people are doing everything wild. Well, there's the school part of it, but now there's the social part of it. Even church, people are just behaving differently. People are from different denominations. So the first impression for me was not to be so much into church, and I actually joined church towards the end of the semester, the first semester 1.1, because I was just also like, I don't wanna, I don't wanna appear like I'm backward, like I'm not exposed. At the same time, I was like, I know if I don't go to church, I will perish. Those words you are taught, like, if you don't trust in God in campus, you will lose your life, you'll completely lose direction. And so, also that fear in me is like, no, I shouldn't miss out on church. But then, I didn't take it as a matter of urgency. But still, I did went to church. The first time I was, sitting at the back and like not doing much about it. Up until later, when now I joined a ministry. I'll still talk about all these things later. But still, I was very careful all along, because like now careful not to wear too many clothes so that I don't appear like I'm too churchy. Too careful not to be too humble, not talking to people, not to be too churchy, because I feared to be cancelled. I was so scared of the cancel culture. There's this thing we call cancel culture, which means like people doing away with you, or rather despising you for a reason. So for me, I had deliberately made up my mind that when I go to campus, I don't wanna miss out on friendships. I don't wanna miss out on people just because I'm appearing holier than thou. I don't wanna miss out on life, miss out on relationships. I don't wanna miss out on things just because I wanna appear like I don't know. I'm this perfect girl. Well, I wasn't as wild, but like that was something I had told myself. And then also, uh, being in the church environment, rather Christian Union, it always felt like people here are a bit like, I don't know how to put it, a bit like backward. Because you see out there, people are having fun. People every Friday, people are going for parties. People are having fun in clubs. People are doing so much. Then now there's me here going to church. Like people are just, it's a matter of praying, reading the word. Like even the idea of sitting down and just singing probably slow songs makes the whole setup look like it's boring. And out there, you'll see WhatsApp statuses, IG stories, people are having fun. I'm seeing IG stories of people I was in high school with, people are having fun. So I'm here like, I don't wanna be churchy. I don't wanna miss out. But then I'm also scared. Like I don't wanna disappoint my parents. I don't wanna perish. That's the word. I don't wanna disappoint my high school pastor. I don't wanna disappoint people who know me in relation to God. So I was just there being careful, and so much happened. At some point I also served in a ministry and became a leader there. Then still in campus, once I finished with the leadership, I gravitated from church, still just being careful not to be too churchy, because that has always been the fear. I don't want to be too churchy because I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out on things. And it was always a struggle because it almost felt like there are people I can't talk to just because I'm a Christian. Like you can't go to church, maybe minister the pulpit, and then be found at a club, dancing. It's like you had to choose a life, and so I was always very careful. Well, I was open enough because now trying to be careful, I would have friends who were into drinking, into doing stuff, which are not churchy. And I also had like friends now who were like churchy. So I was there at the middle. It's like I was taking in from both of these people. And at some point, there's the aspect of friendship also, which I'll talk about. But at some point, I I gravitated away from church friendships because something happened, and well, it's not like something deep, but something happened and I felt judged. And so at that time, my not so churchy friends felt like a solace, and so immediately we became closer. And my churchy friends here now did what the churchy people do, judged. They were judging me. Well, I know you're interested to know what happened. It wasn't something as big as it may sound, but it affected my walk with God. And at that time, I felt like I needed solace, definitely in form of friendship. And I was gravitating towards who loves me. And in this case, the people who showed me love are the non so churchy friends. And so I I just disregarded people in church. I disregarded the environment. I disregarded almost anything to do with it. I still was a Christian. I still would pray and almost agree with these statements like, we left God, we left church, we didn't leave God. But of course, there's what all this was doing to me. I still tried to maintain a good relationship with the people in church. I still tried to maintain a good relationship with God Himself, but things were not as before because now I wasn't into serving, like consistently serving in ministry. And so a lot was going on, but I'd still say I was still a church girl. But so much was going on. Finished school by the grace of God. Now out out in the wild in the career space. Oh, it's it's not becoming crazy. The fact that I'm not able to, there's no Christian Union, there's nobody to chase you around. Sometimes I wouldn't maybe live with my parents because of work, like I'm in a different town, so it's not up to me to decide what I want to do. And so, being a church girl, but I'm already attached to a church. That's a culture that has always been there, taught by my parents, taught by my spiritual leaders. And so, just trying to always attach myself to a church. But now, serving was a little bit different, or rather, almost impossible, because now in this case you probably are in a town for like 3 months or 2 months, so you can't really commit, because you see churches these days have rules like you can't serve unless you are there the previous day or on Saturday, or I don't know, you must have attended the midweek service or the kesha, all these things. And so because of work, probably I'm not able to attend those. And now that also with the freedom, even the energy to pull myself through and attend is not there. The fire is not there, because I'm here, like I said, trying to be careful, trying to be careful while I'm praying. I'm doing all that, but at the same time, currently so many other things are happening as far as my spirituality is concerned. I'm trying to figure out life. And so playing very safe, playing very safe, not to appear very church even around my colleagues. You don't want to appear like now you are this pastor, you're working probably in a bank, you're working in whichever setup, and you are now the newly elected or nominated pastor. No, so you're also trying to be cool. You want to come out as a cool lady. I know all these things. I'm just trying to be cool. So that has been my journey as far as wanting to be cool is concerned, and this has had the good and the bad side of it, which I believe we'll dive into in the rest of the episodes. I don't know about you. Have you ever felt the stigma of avoiding to be churchy? And how did you approach it? And how was it for you? Uh, how was it for you? I shouldn't forget to mention that at some point also, I've never wanted to be churchy, or I always avoided being too committed into church because I fear that I might end up poor. Now, don't judge me. Please don't judge me. Listen very carefully before you judge me. Um, there's a time I felt like if I decide to be sold out to Christianity, or rather in this case, the church could mean my heart, but in this case, I'm talking about the community, the fellowship of brethren. So there's a time it felt like if I decide to commit into church, or rather my life, everything about me into church, I'm likely to end up very reserved and boring, and at the same time, end up maybe poor, like not live to the level based of, I don't know, wealthiness or something. And before you judge, from the context of especially very rural churches, well, I've been exposed in both rural and modern churches, but I can say there's always this stigma of some pastors are struggling, their families are struggling. Those people who are like very committed into church look like they're struggling either financially, like their life doesn't look very appealing compared to someone who is probably doing everything wrong out there, but their family is living a good life, you know. And so I constantly felt like, if I decide to dive into deep into this thing, I might end up poor. Who wants to be poor? Not me, not the church girl. So that made me detest from anything that is making me too deep into Christianity. And this has had effects on me. We will talk about all this, but that's basically how life has been for me. And as at now, I can still confirm to you that peace, joy, prosperity can only come from God. Can only come from God. Because every time you gravitate away from God, oh my goodness, your life is likely to be messy. You're likely not to have peace. As a young person, as an older person, you'll struggle a lot. Like you'll run, and run. But still, home is where Christ is. And this being the first episode, I don't want to be too churchy. I don't want to, now in this case, I also don't want to be too churchy by, like throwing 1,000 verses, or doing everything that you think or expect me to do. But I believe, or rather hope, that by opening up this podcast that way, you've been able to understand this perspective, and probably we resonate in some ways or others. Or even if we don't, I believe towards the end of almost every episode that will come after this, we'll find a resonation. And what I can say is that, all said and done, how can a young man keep his way pure? How can you, as a churchy person, or as a not so churchy person who is saved, keep their way pure? Psalms 119, 9 to 11. By guarding according to the word of God, with the whole. Okay, let me read the verse as it is so that I don't confuse. How can a young man keep his way pure? By guarding it according to your word. With my whole heart I seek you. Let me not wander from your commandments. I have stored up your word in my heart, that I may not sin against you. So how can I keep my way pure? The answer is there: by guarding my heart, my whole heart, and doing what my God has commanded me to do. And so I'm here to encourage you today. I don't know where your journey is with God. Maybe you're up there being churchy and feeling all good about yourself, or maybe you're here feeling like, maybe God doesn't hear me, or you're probably in a lost space where you feel like, I'm confused, I don't know what I want, I don't know what is going on. Now, in all that you're feeling, in all that mess, or in all that goodness, I hope that you remember today that you can find peace in God by meditating upon His Word now through the Bible, guarding what God is telling you to do in your heart, and doing what He requires of you. That way, you'll not sin against Him, and you'll have peace in your heart. And at the end of the day, we are assured of a crown from God. At the end of this life, this earthly living, there's a crown at the end. And so I encourage you today to keep your way pure by guarding the word of God in your heart and doing what He asks and commands of you. That way, you'll forever have peace, and we will all move in the direction of what God expects of us. And I hope that brings you peace, because it also brings me peace. And that is the whole point of this podcast, so that as we strive towards the end, towards the mark, we shall not waver, we shall not be shaken, we shall not be moved. Despite the many challenges, decide to trust God today. Bye. Let's see each other in the next episode.